Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we probably just watch Biscuit go to sleep because it's rather late today. But you, I'm not actually 100% sure what I'm going to title this video, because I think I already titled a video called Pub Quiz before. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check, but yeah, I mean, I'll be talking about what I was so busy doing yesterday. I mean, and it's not going to be like, it's not that crazy a thing. I did a pub quiz. That's about it. And it was a genuinely fun time, and it was a lot stranger than I expected it to be. And I suppose I'll get into that for a second. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:45 p.m. on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. So yeah, it was a pub quiz, you know, and we went to a pub, me and like 3 other friends, and you know, I don't think we've done a pub quiz before, at least not together. I had done like a couple of pub quizzes before randomly, like university time or something, but nothing like I'm not like a serious quiz or anything like that. I do like trivia and knowledge and that sort of things, and it's more, I think I'm more so carried by my pretty good memory rather than necessarily my sort of like desire to learn general knowledge things. So it does help me out, but you know, again, memory can only get you so far. You kind of need exposure to a thing in the first place. But it was actually a pretty cool sort of like quiz thing. It was basically like a timed quiz thing where you signed into like an app on your phone, and you had like 10 seconds to tap the answer. Like the host would say like a question. I'm trying to think of a question off the top of my head. Like, oh yeah, like what country was Lazytown originally made in, or something, like what country did it originate from? And then it was interesting because you had 10 seconds, you didn't have to like type out the answer or anything. A lot of the questions were basically, they gave you like the entire alphabet, and then you just had to pick the first letter of the answer. So it was actually kind of cool. I think that's an interesting way of doing it, because one, it allows you to be quick with it. You know, you just have to type a letter. If you knew the answer to the country that Lazytown was created in, which was Iceland, as I now know, you can just be like, done, and that's it. You know, it's basically the equivalent of a buzzer, but instead of, you don't have to verify everyone buzzes in and then says the right thing correctly, or like you don't have to take typing speed into account. You just literally click a button, because everyone, if you know the answer, you're going to know the first letter of the answer. So I didn't actually appreciate it at the time, but I actually think that's quite a clever solution, especially because it now allows it to be done like on a mass scale if you particularly wanted it to. But there were other rounds as well. Like there was a round where it's basically just like a multiple choice. Like they don't show you like what all the choices are. Like the host reads them out, and then only once you finish reading them all out, you can click. That led to a lot of like bait and switch situations where well, one of them was just like, oh, what does Dracula likes to drink? And it's like mojitos, tequila shots, Bloody Marys, and then the fourth one was blood. So like if you try to, because the entire point of a quiz is you try and buzz in basically as fast as possible. You get points for getting it right, and you get more points if you were like one of the first few to do it. So that very much can lead to a situation that if you're too trigger happy, you would click, you know, when he said Bloody Mary, and it's like, oh no, that's not correct, and you get baited that way. There was another like type of round. Well, one of the rounds was like the number rounds, which I think is kind of the weakest round, but I understand why it's designed this way, because you had to put in a number and then you had to hit the enter button, compared to every other round where you just sort of like press the thing and then that's it. Your answer's locked in. It sort of like feels slightly slower than the other rounds. Like I'm not saying it's like bad design or anything, because you can't really do it any other way, because of another mechanic of this quiz, which I'll get onto in a second. But it does feel like a bit weird, I suppose, to be honest. Like definitely the last round is like the best round, because like you can't really just guess the answer, to be perfectly honest. But it's still like, if you know the answer, you can answer it really quickly, which is like, that's a really nice design, which I didn't appreciate. Multiple choice. There's another one which was basically like a sorting thing, where it's basically like you get given like X amount of options and you just had to like tap them in the correct order. That one I guess also felt slower, but I don't know. it felt a bit smoother. I think, of a number rounds, but maybe that's just because they were easier to guess than the number rounds, and number rounds are a bit too open-ended. But I'm not saying the number rounds shouldn't exist, but I'm just saying that, if anything, it's more of a comparison about the letter rounds. In retrospect, that's actually a pretty cool design. It's such a simplistic design as well, so I don't know why I'm like overanalyzing this sort of thing. I'm sure my friends who were with me in this quiz might be watching this video right now being like, why is she talking about this so much? Talk about the actual amusing parts of this quiz, which I will get onto. I just like talking about game mechanics, okay? There's also another interesting part of this quiz where basically what you could do was something where you could like sort of like hedge your bets, where you could basically select multiple options, so you could basically like double the amount of answers you selected at the cost of you only get half as many points. Like depending on the round, you would get like somewhere from like 5 points to 8 points or something. No, 5 points to 10 points, I suppose, for getting the correct answer, and then you get like up to 5 bonus points for speed, and that sort of thing. But you could do a thing where I think it was called like go wide or something, where basically you just like selected 2 options instead, and then like you would get half points if you got it right, which basically is sort of mounted to. I don't think we ever used it in a situation where we're like, oh, it's 1 of 2 answers. Actually, no, there was one time I did use it in a situation as 1 or 2 answers. Most of the time it was basically, we're guessing the answer, let's just choose like 2 common letters and hopefully it's right. And here's a secret for you, it's S appears so often as an answer. Like ridiculously often. At least it did in because we did. There was only one time I can remember where I used the sort of like hedge for bets option like legitimately, and it was because it was like in a music round, which I'm not very good at because I don't listen to a lot of music. That was definitely my friends carrying me there. Like they answered actually quite a lot of questions, to be perfectly honest. I just sat there being like, I don't know what any of this is. But there was one music question I did get, and it was basically like a still from a music video, and I was like, I feel like I recognize this, but like my initial thought was like, I think this might be a Queen video, but I'm not actually sure. But then the host gave a clue, because everyone there was actually very, very young, who was taking the quiz, which is amusing. But like the quiz spans from like 1960s, 70s to modern day, but like everyone here is like less than 30, which only goes back as far as like 1980s, maybe halfway through 1990s. He gave a quiz, and no, sorry, he gave a quiz. He gave a hint, and he was just like, "Oh, you might know this because he's about to like throw a Vegemite sandwich or something," and that like triggered something in my brain. I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm pretty sure it's about Men at Work song," because it starts with something. And I can't remember exactly how it starts. Like if I see it, like I'll be like, "Oh, that's that song," but it talks about a Vegemite sandwich, and I was like, "Okay, I know it goes, I come from a land down under," but I was like, I don't actually know what the song's called. It's either called Down Under or Land Down Under. So that's actually legitimately went wide. I went, it's either D or L. It was Down Under, which if you forced me to choose an option, I would have chose Down Under, but I wasn't like 100% sure. Like you only have a few seconds to really like answer in the first place, which is why you're kind of like pushed for it. Anyway, so in the first round we, so like I think of 5 rounds? I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. The first round we were doing like, nah, we were doing okay, and like we were just sort of like feeling out, trying to like, I think we're all a little bit hesitant because we were just like, oh, this is like, I don't really know what's going on, that sort of thing. It's not like we really do quizzes much together or anything like that. This might be like one of the first time we actually done like a public sort of quiz thing, but it's a fun time, obviously, like they are my good friends. But we're sort of feeling it out. I can't remember what place we were in. I think we were like 5th out of 7 teams or something, or were we 3rd out of 7 teams? We might have been 3rd out of 7 teams, which was like higher than we expected. We were like, what's going on? And then there was like a 2nd and 3rd round. I can't remember was the 2nd round a music round? I genuinely can't remember. The first was general knowledge, the 2nd might have been the music round, and the 3rd was like a buzz-in round where basically like he would start reading out a question, then like all the teams would like had to buzz in, then whoever buzzed first can answer the question, and everyone else basically votes on if they think we got the question correct or incorrect. Interestingly, in this one, I will say this one like a little asterisk of user interface here. For some reason you can't toggle between if you think they got it right or if you think they got it wrong. So okay, example, other team buzzes in, they answer they answer something. Basically what the other teams get is they get like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. They get a thumbs up by default, I think, on their screen, and then if you think actually they answered it wrong, you tap your screen to change it to a thumbs down, but you can't tap it again to change it back to a thumbs up, strangely. At least I don't think you could. I might just be making it up, to be perfectly honest, but I don't remember you being. I feel like we tried it or something, which it feels like a pointless design like decision, because like speed doesn't matter on this one. You might as well allow it to like toggle back and forth, but I don't know. I guess it's to make you really think about the answer before you sort of lock it in. But to me, it seems like a superfluous decision. No, it probably wasn't an intentional decision. I assume from people who designed it, or just like it was one just made in like oh yeah, let's just do it like this, and they didn't really think through the caveats of it. But it seems a bit pointless. It seems counter to the design of that round of a quiz. But we're two Lily values here. Anyway, I knew like very few of those questions. There's only one question which I knew 100% for certain the answer, and I didn't even buzz in. Like, I thought I buzzed in really quickly, but another team buzzed in even faster. Where the host was just like, oh, what is the birth month? No, what birth month is commonly associated with opal? And I basically buzzed in as soon as I heard the word opal, and still I wasn't first. Like, another team got in first, but they said June, and then I was just like, no, that's wrong. It's October. And June is pearl. You absolute buffoons. Everyone knows it goes garnet, amethyst, aquamarine, diamond, emerald, pearl, ruby, peridot, sapphire, opal, topaz, turquoise. Oh, asterisk. I think March and December sometimes get assigned different ones, but but those are the ones I'm used to. And amazingly enough, it's like if you buzz in and you get it correct, you get 6 points. If you get it wrong, you get -6 points. And if you are one of the teams who didn't buzz in and you say you agree, you also get it correct by saying that they got it correct or they got it wrong, and then you also say they got it wrong. If you guess basically how they answered correctly, you would get 3 points, and if you didn't, you get 0 points. Astonishingly, every single other person, every other team was like, yeah, they must have got it right, because who buzzes in that quickly and answers that confidently and they say know the answer? But they didn't know the answer, and I knew that they got it wrong, so we were the only team to be like, no, that's wrong, which is strange. I remember that one because that was like the only question I like could answer, I think, in the buzz and say. I don't think that's true. I think there were some other ones I could have answered or I could have had a guess at, but I was like, it's not worth the risk unless I know it's the answer for sure. Because that's a deterrent they have in a lot of the later rounds, is basically if you buzz in or if you answer and you get the thing wrong, you lose points. And in the last round, it's actually insane, because the last round, just like Jackbox, it's the only round which matters, essentially, because if you buzz in and you get the question right, you get 10 points, and if you do it first, you get an additional 5. That's 15 points. Seeing as the first round was worth, like, if you buzzed in and got it like, getting the answer right was like 5 points or something. It's like incredibly risky, but if you get it wrong, you lose 10 points. And I don't know, I guess all the other teams were like guessing in anyway, even if they didn't know the answer. We were just like, very reasonably, we were like, okay, if you don't know the answer for certain, don't buzz in, because it's not worth risking 10 points. I mean, to be fair, we did do it once. Just kind of for funsies to send it. But that's not even the most insane part of the final round. Here we go. Dear Darling, going off on this game design for something which is meant to be fun. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. I'm just here talking about it because I need to fill up 20 minutes of conversation. The most insane thing in that final round, for some reason, I don't know why it's a thing, but if you buzz in correctly and you are first, in the first 10 questions, the first half of the last round, I think there's 20 questions in the last round, and it only applies to the first 10 questions, you have the option to either get your 15 points, or you can forego your 15 points and spin the wheel. And if you spin the wheel, some crazy stuff happens. But there's some normal things on a wheel where, like, it's like I can't remember. I think it's you lose 10 points, you lose 5 points, or the other 3 options are you become first, second, or third. Like, they would catapult your points upwards to match, to be one more than whoever's in first, second, or third, which is insane. It's like some Mario Party rubber banding mechanism for a pub quiz, which it's probably so like anyone can have a chance to win, to be perfectly fair, which I think that's kind of fun. I think it's kind of funny. So, because you don't want one team to just like run away with it. It's not fun when someone is so dominantly good at something. It's much more fun if people, like, I mean, that's the reason that Mario Kart uses this sort of like rubber banding technique. It's why blue shells exist. It's not fun to be in first the entire time. It's not fun to be 12th the entire time. This is like a theoretical comeback mechanism. So I think going into like the 3rd or 4th round or something, we were like in 5th. I can't remember. Mainly because like we had a disastrous 2nd round or whatever it was, where we basically got like 1 question right. Which is not like much our fault or anything. It's not like we expect to be seasoned quizzes. It's just like, sometimes that's how the questions land. They just don't fall into what you know. yeah, so it gets to like that final round, and I can't remember. It's like the second question of the fourth round, and I tried my best to try and remember what this question was, because it ended up being way more impactful than you might imagine. But we got it right, and apparently, according to my friend, I got it right. Like I was the one who did the answer. I don't remember what another question is, and but I wish I could tell you because it would make such like a better story. But we as a team got it right, and turns out we got it first. So it's like, okay, you got the option to spin the wheel or don't spin the wheel. And we obviously were all like, let's spin the wheel. We're like maybe around 5th or 4th or something. Like there's like the worst thing that will happen is we lose 10 points, which is, you know, whatever. We're kind of here to win it because there's only prizes for first and second. So we obviously give the wheel to our luckiest friend, a friend who's very renowned for being insanely lucky for some apparent reason, you know. He spins the wheel, and lo and behold, do you know what he gets? He lands on the first on the wheel. So immediately we get catapulted up to first place, or one point ahead of first place. And then we're like, what? This is the most ridiculous thing. We're obviously laughing. We're just calling this the most craziest thing, whatever. At a point, you know, my friends are much more like, I suppose, necessarily optimistic or like, yeah, we can win this sort of thing. I mean, while I tend to be much more like, you know, I think of are you alright, Fauna? Do you want to, like, go back to your house? Your house is right there. I feel like you'd be much better off sleeping in a bed. I was very much like, you know, I think there's a decent chance we get third because we're not like quizzes or anything like that. We're just here to have a good time, to be perfectly honest, and we had a great time. So mission accomplished, and you tick that box. But certainly, that probably was maybe a bit more pessimistic, you know, have a bit more faith in ourselves. But when we rolled out first, I was, you know, in my head, I don't think I said it out loud or maybe, but I'm sure we all thought it. We're just like, whoa, we could actually like win this now because of this ridiculous Mario Party-esque minigame sort of thing. We can just be like, oh, you know, as long as we don't do anything too crazy, we might be able to hold this first place. And that's, you know, we just carried it on. I can't remember a lot of the other questions in the rounds, but we answered pretty well. Like, I think we all like probably answered a question or two or something in the final round. But the only question I remember answering is apparently I answered that one. I must have answered some other ones. I honestly could not tell you. I wonder if the one I answered was a James Bond one. No, because no, it couldn't have been that one. Because I remember in the final round, you're not allowed to like go wide anymore. So you have to basically like pick an answer and commit to that answer. I genuinely cannot remember what the question was that did it, that like catapulted us to first place, but it probably was a thing which gave us like 50 points or something in one round, which is insane. But I do remember another question, so let's pretend it was this question which did it. But I've never acted faster when I saw the question. But sometimes there's like photo rounds, it would just like display a photo on your phone. It's actually very cool, like with sort of like the way of doing it. It displays a photo on your phone and it's just basically like name the film. And I saw it, I looked at it, and I was like, that's Bad Guys. I knew it immediately. He was just like, name the I don't know if it's a DreamWorks film, isn't it? He was just like, name the DreamWorks film which came out in 2023. I looked at it and I was like, Bad Guys, and I was just like, B. I don't think I moved faster ever. I don't know if my friends even got a chance to see the image. But, you know, it's been so ingrained to me because I learned about that movie through fan art faster than I learned about the movie. And you might be like, how did that happen? Unsurprisingly, I follow a lot of artists on Twitter. And then, like, I remember that day I was, like, scrolling through Twitter and I was like, who's this, like, wolf character everyone is drawing? And then it's, like, later on I was like, oh, there's this, like, new trailer released by DreamWorks. And I was like, oh, I see. People are in love with this wolf character or something. And I was like, okay. So that's just like immediately brought it back, and I was like, this is Bad Guys. I know this movie. Anyway, that was like the last chance to spin the wheel. And then we had an actual strategic discussion, which is unlike us, I suppose, during this thing, because I'm sure in any other circumstance, we would have been like, yeah, let's just spin the wheel. Why not? It's for fun. But then we were like, there's actually a decent chance we're in like second or something. And like, it's not worth losing the points, because if you come first, you get £50 off, basically. And we had dinner there, so it was just like £50 off our meal. That's pretty good. If you come second, you get like a bottle of Prosecco or something. I can't remember. So we did it. We were just like, okay, we'll not spin the wheel. There's no point in doing it. Which, you know, I think it hurts because like I'm very much someone who's just like, oh, you know, let's go gun ho. Well, okay, for these competition-based things, you know, I will send it each time because I'm like, who cares about winning? But, you know, when money's on the line, it's like, whoa, you know, we might as well try to win, right? Try and get like a free dinner out of this. And plus, you know, it felt like the right decision to do. So we were just like, we very much unanimously went like, let's not spin this wheel. And then like we had some other questions come up. I can't remember all of them. There was one of them which was like the BMW I, which I don't even remember what the question was to do it. I didn't know it. Car friend, he knew it. What other questions? Oh, the very final question I remember was that Dracula one. I said about the blood one. I think it was that one at least. Would you know, like the self-restraint showed by the friend who actually selected the option in the end was fantastic. But yeah, and then it came to like the results time, and then they like started announcing from the bottom upwards for like each team, and then it got to like third, and then I was like, oh, this is probably like where we came in, and they announced a different team, and I was like, wait a second, we're in the top two, we actually won something with this. And then it was like a huge drum roll, and there was like some mild banter, I suppose, between our table and the other team. Not much for me, because I was just sort of like, this is like unreal, like, are we going to win because of this crazy wheel spin? And then it turns out we won. In the most ridiculous fashion ever. We won probably, like, we won by 7 points, which is like one correct answer in the third round or something, which is insane, can I say. So we won very much because of that wheel spin, and it was just like, what? I basically couldn't believe it for the entire thing. Anyway, so that meal was like, we spent like £80 on that meal there, because pubs are, you know, kind of expensive, but whatever, support your local businesses. £50 off it means it's a £30 meal. That's not bad. £8 for like an entire evening of entertainment, drinks, and food. That's pretty good, to be perfectly honest. But now we're like reigning champions, and it happens monthly. So it's like we had to now go back next month to like defend our honor or something, right? Anyway, I think on that note, I'm gonna round this episode off here. If I have a video title called Pub Quiz, I'm going to title this video like Spin That Wheel or something instead. But I don't know. Oh, we're nearly at 900 subscribers. That's crazy. Anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.